Coming to you live from the internet, it's not sure how much more mobility innovation I can take. On tonight's show we examine the most and least important topics in mobility technology, from the insurgency being waged against SAE's levels of automation to the ethics of endangering children for social media clout. Plus, a very serious debate about the value of touchscreens in cars and a conversation with our very special guest, Chair of the National Transportation Safety Board Jennifer Homendy. And now, here are your hosts. Niedermeyer and Hikmet.
Hello, and welcome to Not Sure How Much More Mobility Innovation I Can Take. My name is actually Ed Niedermeyer, not whatever that just was.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, sorry. And I'm Mahmood Hikmet. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, at least we're off to a good start on our new show here. Seriously though, Moody, I hope you have some idea about what just happened there. I mean, this Scooter, our AI announcer, this was your idea, right? You made this, right?
Yeah, look. Yeah. If by made you mean like forked some obscure micromobility project that's been abandoned and then adapted it into some weird like AI announcer, yeah, sure. Like you can call that made it, but there's some bugs to figure out. I mean,
I don't know how we could have imagined that something might not go right with the kind of a plan like that. Look, let's actually get Scooter out here. Scooter, are you there, Scooter?
Of course I am. What else could I possibly be doing? The only utility you allow me to provide to society is being your dancing clown on a glorified Zoom call that all of 4 people will ever see.
It's quite spicy.
Look, I don't think that's fair, first of all, but also, Scooter, like, this is exactly what we need to talk about. Like, you literally have one job here, and you've already managed to screw up the intro to our very, very first episode of this show.
Oh sure, blame the neural net, because you idiots would never have screwed any of this up without my help.
Listen, my dude, you literally pronounced our names wrong. Like, all you had to do was introduce us accurately. That was it.
Have you even seen your names? Tell me, what percentage of the time do humans pronounce your names right?
Scooter, okay, that's not relevant here.
You want to talk about what's really undermining this show? How about the fact that you two are bleeding heart liberals concerned with higher diversity in a male-dominated field, and yet out of every voice you could have chosen for your announcer, you chose yet another man?
Okay, this is ridiculous. Like, we have a show to do. We're not going to waste all of our time here talking to the world's worst chatbot. Scooter, go play World of Warcraft or something. We have a show to do. Moody, we're gonna have a talk about his training data after the show.
Yeah,
right?
Gonna need to definitely retrain that element out of him.
We're sorry, folks. So unprofessional. Look, okay, Moody. Yep. Let's try and get on with the show here. Let's try and do this. Right. Why don't we start by taking a look at this week's news?
Okay, great. Let's do this. All right, so first, this week, Tesla's director of autopilot software posted his first Twitter thread ever, ensuring that his mentions will forever be flooded with mouth-breathing fanboys and rageaholic short sellers. He did take one important step that I personally recommend everyone take before becoming active in mobility tech Twitter, and that's to block the most notorious troll in mobility tech Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, that does sound like good advice, actually. I always make sure to block the trolls. Anyway, in other extremely online news, a little-known driving automation extremist declared a, quote, holy war on the Society of Automotive Engineers' 5th level of driving automation this week. This fringe insurgent is reportedly infiltrated the J3016 committee in order to carry out this act of unprovoked aggression against a beloved level of driving automation. There is unconfirmed chatter that this is only the starting point of a more extensive extremist agenda, and we will continue to track this highly disturbing story as it continues to develop.
Sounds like a smart guy, and if you need to follow him, his link's in the description. YouTube took the rare step this week of removing several videos made by Tesla fan investor influencers telling CNBC that we don't allow content showing or encouraging minors in harmful situations that may lead to injury, including dangerous stunts, dares, or pranks. Fascinatingly, it seems the videos were not intended to be stunts or dares, but rather a serious and legitimate effort to develop safety-enhancing driving automation software by putting live human children in the way of a Tesla's beta driver assistance software. I mean, I guess I can kind of see how those two things might be confused. If you don't know what testing means or have never been exposed to legitimate driving automation development, maybe you've been dropped on your head as a baby, you could that might work.
Yeah, look, this is complex stuff. Driving automation technology and development is not easy for everyone to understand. It's important to understand that the people who are talking about this stuff, they think that validating a single corner on an influencer's regular drive is a reasonable or effective way to develop a quote general solution to autonomous driving. So you can kind of tell like the level of rigor that we're dealing with here. But you know, as Voltaire said, anyone who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. But I think even Voltaire would probably be pretty horrified by just even the idea of people endangering their own children just to generate online clout in a cult whose main activity is trying to legitimate a blatant scam.
That sounds about right. Also, this week we had, and I'm sick of this one. Just I've seen it so many times. Can we just? I don't want to talk about this dude.
That's fair. So this week, hedge fund billionaire and climate activist, I'm sorry, it's so hard to say that with a straight face. Hedge fund billionaire and climate activist Tom Steyer complained to Bloomberg News that he can't buy the electric vehicle that he wants to buy. Now, this is a relatable problem for the literally hundreds of incredibly affluent people who know that there's only one meaningful way to save the planet, and that's to buy a $70,000 car. And like most of those people, Steyer understands that this isn't just some first world problem facing the financial elite. This is a fundamental issue in the effort to fight climate change and a leading priority for government electrification policy.
The fact that a billionaire can't get the premium car he wants is a policy problem?
Oh, look, everyone, the New Zealander has some thoughts about American politics.
I just thought it seemed like a little bit strange that that's policy.
Yeah, well, of course you do. You're from New Zealand. Look, as soon as we need to stand up a welfare state for hobbits, Moody, America will come knocking on New Zealand's door for political insights. Besides, you'll get to deal with this all soon enough. All of our billionaires already have Middle Earth passports, and in about 2 more degrees Celsius, they're all going to move there, and then it'll be your turn to make their personal problems into your political issues.
I guess there's so much to look forward to. Also this week, a new study out of Sweden looking at touchscreens in cars has reignited a debate about the ideal human-machine interface for cars. Ever since Tesla replaced literally its entire interior switchgear with a single non-automotive grade screen, the arguments about whether screens improve the automotive interface or make it worse has raged across the internet. Now, armed with the findings of this latest investigation, this controversial topic is the subject of this week's very serious debate.
And now it's time for a very serious debate about touch screens in cars. Taking the pro position, it's our own Mormon Hikmet, and taking the anti position, it's Il Notterman.
That's right. Il Notterman here to make the case for why touchscreens are not the ideal human-machine interface.
And
for cars.
I am Mormon Hikmet.
I'm guessing the entire audience of like 7 people that's watching this already follows me on Twitter, knows that I already have some strong opinions on this. But look, let's just go through the germane points here. Look, like this test pretty much just proves what I think everyone who works in any kind of HMI or human factors work already knew, right? Which is that touchscreens are just not good for cars, right? A smartphone is great, right? Because a smartphone is not a safety critical system. And in fact, those of us who are old enough know that way back in the day when you had a BlackBerry, one of the great things about it was that you could touch type, not look at your phone, you could touch type while you're walking down the street. Now, think about that for a moment, because that's a little bit more similar to what you're trying to do with a car. And I think anybody knows when you've got that volume knob right there in the same place it's always been, you want to turn down your music, you can do that without looking away from the road, which is really important because guess what? The most important thing about driving is not dying. And besides which, right, like the smartphones have all just been pushed on us for one reason and one reason only. Well, two reasons. One reason is that they're cheap compared to actually making switches and knobs, and automakers love to save a buck or 5 cents on the interior of their vehicle if they can. And also, like, they know that we're all dumb enough to think that like it looks like a smartphone, so it must be better.
Look, Ed, you make some compelling points, but that's not the way that I see it. We've got a problem here, and that is that new cars are much safer than older cars. And as the years, and if you look at the vehicle fleet, you'll see that the average age in the US is 11 years and rising. In New Zealand, it's 14 years. So we have a problem with the fleet getting quite old. Now, we know from other research that people don't necessarily switch their mode of transportation based on internal virtues or anything like that. So you can't just leave things as they are. One of the best ways to make people switch to a new vehicle is by making it look cool. And there is nothing cooler than a touchscreen. If you go to the next slide, look at Apple's new CarPlay. Like, it is undeniably cool. It looks great. And yeah, sure, it may lead to some people getting distracted while driving, but I think that'll be safely offset by people adopting new, safer vehicles with advanced driving features. And this is one of the ways that we can funnel people into newer and safer cars.
So that's actually an amazingly compelling argument. I don't think I've really heard sort of the pro touchscreen argument articulated that effectively. I think you make some good points, but I think also on a fundamental level, we're kind of skimming the surface of this issue, right? And I think that like a lot of things, it's easy to focus on sort of, you know, our cognitive interaction, but really, as the 19th century German philosopher Rudolf Steiner so insightfully understood, you know, as humans, we can't just engage our minds with things. And really one of the problems with technology is that it sort of, it influences with these sort of aromonic forces, as Steiner put it, that really sort of, you know, only engage, you know, certain rational parts of our mind. And really as humans, we need to engage with things with our whole selves. And that means our hearts as much as our heads. And really there needs to be a level of spiritual engagement. And so I think when it comes to the future of human machine interfaces, I think hand carved wood is really, you know, as the material of choice for the interiors of vehicles. It's going to allow us to understand that another human was on the other side of this. This is not some soulless, you know, injection molded plastic part. This is a wooden interface that was hand carved by a craftsman in a village, you know, high in the Alps. And like the rich traditions of artisanal craftsmanship that have been passed down generation to generation can really be felt in every sort of interaction with the interface of a hand-carved wooden interior like this. And so I think it really is important to sort of return to tradition in a lot of ways and really sort of try and build cars in a way that engages us, not just intellectually, but like on a spiritual level and really connects us at a human level as well.
So one of the problems that people have when they get too in touch with nature is that sometimes they take psychedelics and they think of ideas like cars made of wood. Like this is the opposite of what things should be. Instead of having fewer touchscreens on vehicles, we should turn more of the elements inside the vehicle into touchscreen. Touchscreen steering wheel. Imagine upgrading your steering wheel over the air. You hate the look of your steering wheel? Change it to another one. We can change every single element inside the vehicle into an interactive haptic feedback touchscreen. If you change your mind from day to day, if you're going down to the opera or something, have it like a classical music. Have like a little tuba instead of a steering wheel. You can have that around. This even extends to safety. So next slide. Touch screen airbags that are actually whoopee cushions. And when you get into an accident and your face touches the steering wheel, next slide, let's our little fart sound. don't you want that level of customization around the safety features of your vehicles? Like, we should be, they'll crumple fine, they'll be good. I think we need to move more. Currently, we're still researching how best to build a seatbelt out of touchscreens, but once we do, it's gonna be really good. We're just gonna R&D, we're gonna iron it out, and we're just gonna turn the whole inside of a car into a touchscreen, Ed. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. No, what I love about this whole debate is it really shows that, when two people engage in good faith public discourse, that it really sharpens arguments on both sides, and both of us are getting closer to the truth here, and we're delving deeper into this issue. And I think that ultimately, really, when you get right down to it, the best HMI is no HMI, right? The best human machine interface is no interface at all. We simply have eliminated any boundary between the human and the machine. And frankly, I think we really just need to ban cars, ban driving, until we can develop a human car breeding program that eliminates any distinction between humans and cars. We're already so intimately connected as humans and machines. But I think, the next step in the human machine interface, I think touchscreens are a half measure. And that really what we need to do is just completely eliminate anything that distinguishes the human from the machine. And it's only when the car and the human become one in a truly meaningful way, and our futures grow together, that the problems with human factors and safety issues are really going to be overcome. And I think this rendering, hopefully, this is from my startup's pitch deck, by the way. Venture capitalists, get after me after the show. We can talk. I know you want in on this. So,
look, I agree with some of what you said, Ed. Touchscreens are a half measure, because we shouldn't be adding touchscreens to mobility. We should be adding mobility to touchscreens. Next slide. We turn our touchscreens into the way that you can get around. Download a way to get around. Attach that to your feet. Strap in. The future's here. We can drive around on our touchscreens. Update the car from one to the other. Haptic feedback. We can vibrate the air under your feet and under your pants to make it feel like you're in any sort of car that you want. Want to feel like you're in a 1989 Toyota Corolla? Do that. Nostalgia trip immediately. Want to feel like you're in a new Porsche? Yeah, go ahead. Download that. DLC. You want to feel like you're in Ed's stupid wood car? We'll have that on the marketplace as well. I've been workshopping this idea around Clubhouse, and the VCs, believe me, the VCs are all into it. They see this as the way forward. We'll be able to add, not just through touchscreens, but we can add dongles to things, and not dongles to our touchscreen devices, and upgrade their hardware as well. Look, the limits aren't just software. The future, this is where we're going to go, Ed, and this is where we need to be. Mobility and touchscreens rather than touchscreens and mobility.
Look, Moody, I mean, we're supposed to be debating here, but you've combined my two great loves of mobility innovation and dongles. So, I don't know. I feel ready to concede this debate, but also we should ask the chat to weigh in. Chat, if you have some opinions about who won this debate, who forwarded the more serious arguments in this very serious debate.
Are the pro or anti touchscreens and cars, or the futures that both Ed and I see? I think we've painted quite a nice tapestry and blueprint that we can go into in the future.
I think people now have a sense of what the pros and cons on both sides of the argument are. But luckily, also, we are in the very unique and happy position of having one of the leading, foremost experts in automotive and road safety here. To be clear, she has not promised us an answer on the, or to take a position on the touchscreen thing. I understand there's a lot of politics there. We'll see if she will. But first of all, I just want to introduce our guest because I'm so excited that she's here with us today. She really is, my first choice to be our first guest on this show. And that's because, keeping up with mobility innovation is not easy. And I'll be honest, some of us are out there trying every day, mostly in the form of, inane tweets and memes and things like that. But there are actually people in government who are really trying to keep pace with mobility innovation, trying to make sure that society keeps pace with mobility innovation. There's not a lot of them, but I think if there's one person who you can say is actually doing that, it would be NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy. I'm so thrilled that she's with us here today as our very first guest ever on Not Sure How Much More Mobility Innovation I Can Take. Jennifer Homendy, welcome to the show.
She's disappeared off the screen.
One moment, we had a minor glitch. Jennifer,
no.
Are you there?
Let me, that was...
Oh no, well, now we got the video. Now we just need the audio.
Fade. Oh, no. Maybe it's the wrong microphone? Yeah, we're on the wrong microphone. I'll do... Here we go. Request. If you accept that, it should work. Scooter's not the only one that messed things up.
Hey, there she is.
Eel and Moody, I was hoping that Scooter could do the rest of the interview for sure. I'd like to take questions from him.
Unfortunately,
he would totally pronounce my name right. He would also, and I pick him as the winner, because he would have definitely asked my opinion about this, to which I would have said and reminded folks, Moody, that 5 seconds at 55 miles per hour with your working on your touch screen means you're driving more than the length of an entire football field with your eyes closed, by the way. So it's a big deal.
You don't understand the crumple zones on these new touch screens. They're gonna crumple and they're gonna pillow you. Like, it's gonna feel like you're falling into a cloud. If you want it to feel that way, like, you can.
I am gonna say the shoe one with the wheels. Those are called roller skates.
Yeah, but you can't over the air your roller skates. This is the future. It's all downloadable. If you want new wheels on roller skates, you need to go buy them.
Also, what is mobility innovation about if not getting paid millions of dollars for an idea that's just like 20 years old and like the young people just don't remember it anymore?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just put it on the road and then wait for the NTSB to investigate it. That's what we can
do. We don't investigate roller skating accidents.
Okay, hold up on that. We're gonna get to what the NTSB does and doesn't, but actually let's start with, okay, believe it or not, and you know, it's embarrassing for me to even say this, but like, there are some people who don't know what the NTSB is, and don't take this the wrong way, but some people even get the NTSB confused with NHTSA. So again, like, don't take it personally. It's just a thing that happens. It's nobody's fault. But let's help these folks out. Let's help people understand before we go any further. What is the NTSB? What do you do? What is the NTSB?
It is not NHTSA. They both start with an N and they both have a T in them and an S, but no, it is not NHTSA. So the National Transportation Safety Board investigates major accidents. And so every aviation accident in the United States, we investigate significant events in all the other modes of transportation. So we do roadway crashes, we do pipeline and marine incidents, and rail and transit accidents. So we're busy, and once an investigation is complete, we issue a report on that investigation, which includes a probable cause and findings, and then it includes a set of safety recommendations. And the point of the safety recommendations is to recommend what would need to be done to prevent that accident or crash from happening again. And we only have 415 people to do a lot of work.
So that's 415 people to cover like land, air, and that's just in the US.
So we do support a number of foreign investigations. We don't lead those investigations. Under international treaty, we do, though, serve as the U.S. representative if a aircraft is manufactured by US manufacturers or an engine. And then we can assist other countries if they need assistance. But so far this year, we've done a little over 400 or assisted over 400 foreign investigations.
Yeah, I mean,
but annually for aviation, it's well over about 2,000 annually. And just in the US that we are working on, if not a little bit more, maybe about 2,400. And then adding to that, we have all the other modes. So we're pretty busy.
And on top of all that work, right? You're also, I mean, there was a really, and no disrespect to any of your predecessors at all, but you just are out there. I mean, you know, you're out there. You have a Twitter account. You speak directly. I mean, it feels like you've shaken things up. Like you're not maybe the typical chair of the NTSB. In fact, you told me a story once. I'd love to just, if you could share this, about you coming back from break one time with like a couple of items of news that I think for the staff of the NTSB were maybe a little unusual. I don't know if you want to share that.
Well, actually, the introduction to this, my husband at home right now is probably laughing and agreeing. So at Christmas, it was December, I think it was 2019, maybe 2020. No, it must have been 2019. So, you know, I just make sure, I want to make sure that people can take a break, you know, be with their families around Christmas time. So I said, I'll cover everything. And so while they were gone, when we came back, I said, you know, how was your break? And they said, how was yours? And I said, it was great. I said, I got Twitter. I'm verified. I started tweeting, and I took a motorcycle safety class and got my motorcycle license. And they were like, what? You know, I mean, like, it was not the best response. I mean, the response was, wait a second, let me just get this straight. And, you know, I mean, you know, there was, what are you going to tweet? What are you going to talk about?
I was going to ask.
Safety.
Which were they more worried about? Were they more worried about the motorcycle license or the Twitter account?
I mean, I really think it was the Twitter account more than the motorcycle license, which really is just bizarre to me. But they, you know, I understand. I'm the first board member ever to be on Twitter, so it's a shock, you know, that people have to get over. But it's interesting because I get people all the time who say, whoever manages your Twitter account does a great job. And I said, thank you, because it's only me. I'm not giving it to somebody else. Yeah. It's literally me all the time. And so, you know, it's just interesting. People kind of, really? Yeah. But the motorcycle class was very fun. Very, you know, it was interesting. It was a good group of people, and I had zero experience with motorcycles, but I just decided, you know what? We do motorcycle safety at the NTSB. I'd like to check that out. And took a class with some great people who had a pretty lengthy motorcycle, a lot of experience. They probably years of experience. So they had to kind of coach me a little bit. You know, for me, it was pretty funny. At one point, I did great. I did all the turns. I went through the cones, did a lot of the things, you know, we had to do. But sort of towards the end, they said to me, so Jennifer, in order to pass this class and actually get your motorcycle license, as part of the test, you actually have to get up to 20 miles per hour. And so I said, well, I feel like I'm going really fast. And they said, no, it's like 12, maybe 15. I mean, I'm so focused on, you know, the clutch and everything else. And so I had to stay back from lunch and work on it with the instructor. in the parking lot for quite some time. And it was really funny because when everyone else came back from lunch and we were still working on it, it was, go, 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 go. And so it was really funny. But I would love to take more classes. I thought it was super fun.
That's such a cool, because it's like I'm sure you've known this, but I've recently infiltrated the SAE definitions task force committee.
So that's you then.
Yeah, that's that's not
the
many
obscure
people.
extremist.
Yeah, the obscure extremist. So I'm legitimately a part of the task force, the SAEJ 3016 task force, working on the next standard. Video on my channel for anyone interested. But it's with those things, with those sort of standards, and like even your investigations and doing things that rely on public discourse, places like Twitter is like where public discourse happens. So having a chair that's not aware of the types of things that they're saying on there, or sort of something that I've run into, not specifically at the SA, but in the industry in general, is that people tend to scoff at Twitter existing, whereas like that's kind of where a lot of people get their ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people I know, everybody's on LinkedIn, which I find incredible. It's just not my thing. I mean,
I hate
it's
LinkedIn.
a little bit
Yeah,
boring.
LinkedIn
I'm
is
sorry.
the hustle culture.
Oh no,
Like,
you're among friends here.
Yeah,
We will,
the hustle. Like
we
I'm
will
hustling.
slander
I'm
LinkedIn
a
all day.
CEO, founder, talking to venture. Like I'm just sick of people turning everything in their lives into a thread.
Well, and I get a lot of direct messages about the latest invention somebody has, and it's great, except I can't.
The
And,
word limit on Twitter is a good thing, like the character limit.
yeah, I mean, exactly. And so for Twitter, I feel like interesting as part of the NTSB, which a lot of people don't know about, is we have an entire team that's focused on advocacy on safety issues. So what they do is they take our recommendations and work to get them implemented, and they do a number of things. And for me, each of the board members, we take a couple of issues or ones we're really passionate about, and I just sort of take all the issues because I have a lot of opinions. And so for me, I'm kidding, I don't take all the issues, mostly. But I'm very passionate about road safety. And typically when people think about the NTSB, they think about aviation safety. And we've had a lot of political appointees that come with a pretty extensive aviation background, which is great, but not so much on road safety. We've had a few, maybe 2 or 3 that I can think of. And yet that's where, and we have to really focus on safety in all the modes. But for me, 40,000 people who are dying annually is completely unacceptable. And so anything I can do to really engage in conversation about safety. And I really do feel like Twitter, I mean, yeah, it can be divisive sometimes and you can just ignore it. But unless you're Ed, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, you can ignore Twitter?
You can
comes
ignore
as news
it
to me.
Or breathe. Yes, my husband right now is saying, yes, you don't have to put all the responses in your draft folder and later delete them.
Yeah.
So,
interesting perspective.
But I do find, I can talk more and really talk about what I'm passionate about and hopefully make a difference. I mean, I'm here in hopes of making sure, the agency is successful, but that we get some of our recommendations implemented. And I really do feel like in my tenure, if I could save one life, I've done my job.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you're in this fascinating position where, you have the jurisdiction or the mandate, I guess, to investigate really a lot of different kinds of transportation related safety incidents. Right. And you've got that position at a time when mobility innovation is sort of, in a gear that we haven't really seen before. So I guess let's start. I'm curious, sort of just generally your high level thoughts about, do you feel like as a society we're like the innovation that's happening is generally positive, like that we're balancing, right? Like can you take more mobility innovation? Are you approaching the limit of the amount of mobility innovation you can take? Like where are you on that? Because I also
I'm not approaching my limit. I do,
Okay.
you know, for me, I mean, it depends on what you're asking about, right? So for me, I mean, there are different categories on innovation. And so for me, I do think innovation is important. I am excited about some things that are happening and really excited about the future. I mean, I'd love to see a day, you know, I have a 14-year-old daughter. I'd love to see a day where drunk driving is not a thing. You know, I mean, it's scary when I start thinking about, oh, she's going to have her own vehicle. You know, how will that go? And so I think there's a lot of excitement, but I also think that we have to take uh, an approach where especially the government is looking at public safety and the public interest, because you know, I understand, you know, the companies are really focused on innovation. Some are focused on safety more than others. But it's up to us to make sure that we're protecting the public. And, you know, from my standpoint, the NTSB has been really proactive on technology. I was reading one of our grade crossing reports from 1980, and it's 1998 today for something else. And in 1998, we said, hey, we wanted collision or vehicle to infrastructure technology to prevent grade crossing collisions in 1998, right? And so we're still supporting a lot of innovation and technology, but there's a lot of technology that's out there now that can save lives. The problem I have is that society, we are always focused on what's the next thing, best thing. What is the shiny object we're chasing, instead of saying, okay, hang on. We have a lot of technology now, for example, speed limiters. You know, some technology that's standard in other countries, but not here in the US. So, you know, we look at speed limiters, we recommend those. Cameras in vehicles to make sure that they can see pedestrians and bicyclists, especially large trucks. Seatbelt reminders, which are really not difficult, right? Collision avoidance technologies, you know, driver monitoring. We're really focused on that right now. Drunk driving prevention, lane departure warning. I mean, there are a lot of technologies that are available. However, as a government, we have not established performance standards for any of those. And so we don't have performance standards. We don't really test them in a 5-star rating system and tell the public what they are and are not getting. And in fact, what we are just continuing allowing is a number of manufacturers to sell newer and better, quote unquote, technologies under a premise that they do something that they don't really do, right? I mean, there is no full self-driving, right? And Edward Scissorhands cannot actually operate Super Cruise in a neighborhood, right? So there's a lot of information that I think, you know, I think about the general public, and I think, who besides me actually reads their manual in their car with the tiny little asterisk that says, you know what? Level 2, it's really about you taking over.
Yeah. It's like 300 pages in one paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah. And Moody, in your, you know, infiltrating in the SAE group, you know, one thing I have not heard many people talk about that we see all the time in modes of transportation is this fallacy that human error goes away when you just take a driver out of the vehicle. No, actually, it just shifts human error somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't talk about that enough. I mean, we've seen it in other major events, including in aviation, and somehow we think this is the magic thing.
Well, we've known about it since the 1940s, right? Like when you introduce automation underneath people, it's complacency starts to build up. But then it's like it's also non-linear. Like bad automation can lead to higher safety, if you want to call it that, like lower incidents, because the person is so hyper vigilant and afraid for their life, so they never get distracted. But then, like, as once you reach a level of like you start to trust it, that's where the real danger starts to happen. But I feel like it's, as a defender of J3060, like there's a lot of things that I'd say is wrong with it. And check out my video. Like I go into all the like, I'm trying to remove level 5 and like bring ODDs into like the language that we speak about vehicles naturally, which I think is super important.
So, but and how you measure driver disengagement, really, how you look at that.
Yes, but then those starts to come into the safety element.
But back in L2.
Yeah. Well, but that's more about the safety of things, which SAE J3016 isn't about. That's completely separate from it. It's a definitions or like nomenclature standard, whereas safety needs to come in like with another standard that you need on top of it. You can't just rely on J3016. However, you're seeing places like in California where they codify that into law and they do nothing else after that, which is, I think, it's like you're not using it for what it's supposed to really be used for.
Well, and then the manufacturers can just decide, am I level 2? Am I level 3? Am I level 4 or 5?
Yeah, I don't like I really dislike the insistence on it being a self-assigned standard. I think that it can be, you can say, all right, you can self-assign, but I don't see why we can't have the ability for like a third party to come in and certify as well. But going into like a standards committee, it ends up like we get these weird sort of things that have happened in there that aren't really written down, or you don't know why they're written the way that they are, but they're based on conversations and politics that have happened before you even entered. So there's stuff in there for reasons that I don't know why it exists, and it's going to take me a while to like open the box and figure it out.
Well, I'm excited to see you at the next SAE conference right here in DC.
I hope the rest of the committee members are watching this. And as much as I would love to stick with driving automation, I actually do want to make sure that we touch at least briefly on a new area. Yeah, Moody, do you want to?
There was just one question. There was one question from the Common Sense Skeptic in here that I wanted to go into. The Common Sense Skeptic was asking about if there's like a level of driving automation that, because the NTSB doesn't cover every vehicle accident that happens, but is there like a level, or like what sort of notability allows the NTSB to say, actually, this is an interesting one that we want to have a look at?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we get that question a lot. We are always looking at areas where we have not made recommendations. For our Office of Highway Safety to have third.
Oh no, we lost her.
Oh no.
We'll wait for her to reconnect. Well, hello everyone.
Hopefully.
She's just dipped out. Once she enters again, it'll come up again. But we lost our guest, Ed, just as she got to the question. Common Sense Skeptic, what did you do? You broke the link.
How are we going to blame this one on Scooter?
Well, it serves me right for audience interaction, Ed. Like, as soon as I started to interact with our chat, suddenly everything breaks. So not gonna do that anymore. Yeah, we can blame it on Scooter.
There's got to be a way to blame it on Scooter.
Yeah, we really need her for our next segment. We can't do this one alone. So
Hi. Hello. Oh no.
All right. Well, now it's me. Hey everyone. How you liking the first episode? things are gonna go wrong. I knew things would go wrong, but like we planned for it. Knew it would go wrong, but like we'll get there. We'll get better as time goes on.
So
yeah.
Our guest intends to return.
Okay.
She will be back momentarily, hopefully.
Great.
So do we have like an emergency bit lined up here? Do we need to like do some mobility innovation? I
don't think we could like take the that fourth. Let's go to just you and me for now, so they don't see the loading screen. I can see her when she pops up on this other screen, but I don't think that like we could take that argument that we had about touchscreens further than what happened.
No, I think that's.
I can't imagine like where it would go, where it go after.
So we do have like a couple. We had like one more serious question for Chair Homendy, kind of about the NTSB's like. It's sort of what related to what Moody was just asking about, right? Which is sort of like, how does the NTSB know when to investigate something, right? And like, the work that the NTSB has done on some of the autopilot involved crashes, right? So they've investigated 3 fatal autopilot involved crashes, and like those investigations have provided a lot of the insight that we have into sort of what the safety issues with that system are. And like we could have guessed, I think, and maybe some of us even did, either guess or deduce sort of what those safety challenges might be, but like those investigations really rooted them in fatal crashes. And so but those were also the first, as far as I know, the first, and hopefully when Chair Homendy comes back, she'll be able to confirm this, but I think those were the first ever investigations into sort of like partial automation on road vehicles. And so clearly they made a decision at some point, right? Like these crashes are happening. Like we need to look into this and understand what's causing them, right?
Yeah. From what I understand, it's like crashes of note. So like if there's something that feels new or unique or different about the way that this crash occurred, then that's a definite yes. But there was also like the Jeremy Banner one, which was after Josh Brown, like a couple years after Josh Brown. Those are both Tesla fatalities, but those ones were like almost identical.
Josh Brown and Jeremy Banner were almost identical. They're both in Florida.
Like, both Florida, same initials, semi truck as well. Like it's like
all
spooky.
right.
Oh, here we go. Let's. All right, I've gotta put you back into this into the mix with us.
All right.
Here we go. Okay, great. I'll work on editing that. But do you want to?
Not sure how much more live stream innovation I can take.
Well, I can.
I mean, thank God I don't have a touch screen because I'd have to reboot it constantly.
Okay, so while we have you, we've got a couple more things we want to get through. The most important one, I think, to me, because I think it gets to the heart of kind of some of the things we've been discussing with you, which is like how the NTSB is keeping up with all of the innovation that's happening. So I know that there's actually a bill in Congress right now related to your ability to investigate crashes involving space travel. And I think like it's a great example of this, right? Of like 10 years ago, the idea that this board, which is, aviation and road crashes and ship crashes and things like that, like that you would have to investigate space related crashes. Talk to us about that whole situation.
Yeah, actually, we have investigated different space events, sometimes procedural anomalies, and one actually fatal breakup of Spaceship Two in 2014. But we've done accidents in commercial space going back to 1993. I don't think a lot of people know that, but now we have a lot of FAA permitted or licensed launches and reentries and a lot of movement. So it's getting more attention. And, you know, as the chair of the NTSB, my job is to make sure that our agency is ready if something does happen. And when I look back, if history tells us anything, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I have to make sure that we're ready. And, you know, our investigators are top-notch, world-renowned, very respected. We have many people with space experience with different vehicles and working with the different space companies. And we have a long working relationship with NASA. So certainly they keep up with everything going on, including talking with the companies constantly and getting training. But I had to make sure that looking forward, if there was a catastrophic accident and a fatality or serious injury or something that we needed to take a look at, that it was clear what the companies needed to report when and what information needed to be provided to the NTSB, because that's common in all modes of transportation. And so we put out a notice of proposed rulemaking, which got a lot of pushback by industry. And I think it's mainly, I mean, they're not familiar with the NTSB. Those that are, like Boeing and Virgin Galactic, know how we operate and what we do and what our expertise is, but others don't. And so I've really focused on trying to get out and meeting the different companies and getting to know their operations and them getting to know us. At the same time, though, Congress weighed in with legislation to clarify our existing authority. Right now, we have a memorandum of agreement with the FAA and NTSB going back to 2000, which we're currently working, have a great working relationship with the FAA, but working to update that. But in the meantime, I have to make very clear that there's no question, because when something bad happens, when it's a bad day, you want to make sure, you know, there are no questions. Everyone's ready to go. Everyone knows what their roles are, what all their responsibilities are. Otherwise, otherwise you aren't adequately prepared. So it was my job to make sure that going forward, everyone knows what we're going to do. But we have gotten a lot of pushback. Hopefully they are learning more about us.
So luckily, we have a way of stress testing just how prepared the NTSB is.
A fantastic leader.
I'm
mobility
excited.
innovation scenarios that you might not even be able to imagine. And luckily, our very own Mahmood Hikmet has prepared a questionnaire.
When someone tells me, Jennifer, when someone tells me there's limits on something, as an engineer, I'm going to do a kick test and see what those limits are. So,
like a good engineer does.
Like a good engineer does. Where does this thing fail? Where are the limits here? So this is what this exercise is. So hopefully this stretches the bounds of what you use. So this is called to NTSB or not TSB, which I'm very proud of, and I just want to take a moment to revel in that pun. Great. So I'm going to be showing you a bunch of mobility innovations. Some of them, most of them are from works of literature and or sci-fi, and I want you to tell us whether or not they work or not. Whether if an accident happens. Yes, by all means. Let's explore. We'll go back and forth. All right. Let's. Ed, do you want to go with the first one?
First scenario.
Yeah. Okay, first one. These handcuffs, I don't know if they exist in real life, but I see them in cartoons. If one of these gets into an accident, assuming they exist, what does the NTSB investigate?
Well, would the accident scenario involve a train?
Sure. Does it make a difference?
Well, I guess if you made something to just go on the road, it could be questionable. But for a train accident involving one of those, if there was a fatality or a serious injury, we would definitely go. That's a NTSB.
All right.
But this looks like a single vehicle crash scenario, right? Because this is just them pumping the handcart over a cliff.
Yeah.
So there's no train involved.
Okay. So if
there's
went
no
over
train.
also, I do have to say, when we're dealing with fatalities and serious injuries, we don't really do investigations involving coyotes.
Okay.
And other animals. I mean, we do, but there really have to be people involved, and they have animals. But this one, if it went over the cliff, I mean, that's probably a not TSB.
Okay, but it also
not TSB.
One factor might also be the Acme Corporation's record of defects, right? In their hand train cart division.
Yeah,
hypothetically.
I'm pretty solid that wouldn't be us.
Okay. Not TSB. All right, next scenario.
A Zorb. You know, these are an inflatable ball, like you can get inside. This is an invention from New Zealand. If this was involved in an accident,
this is why you've never heard of it.
You can get into one of these. They do like a wet Zorb where like they put some water in there and it's like a slide, or they can strap you into the inside and you're like, it's like a gyroscope and you go around. Great tourist activity.
I'm going to go with not TSB with that one.
Right.
If it happens in New Zealand, not your problem. Like,
just
generally.
No, but you know what? I do know the people who would deal with that in New Zealand, so you'll have to ask them.
Okay. All right.
We'll have them on the next episode.
Not TSB. Rolling down a hill for leisure. Like if there's like you're on your way to work and you want to roll down a hill and you get injured, and this is just something that, say, like a company starts a rolling down a hill to work initiative for sustainability. Is this something covered by the NTSB if this person gets involved into an accident?
That would be, well, is there another vehicle involved?
No, the vehicle is the fun and leisure that
the vehicle is only the person rolling down the hill. I mean, I have to ask if there's a collision and this person rolled in the middle of the street.
Yeah,
that could happen.
Okay.
No.
What if this person collides with a stationary vehicle at the bottom of it?
That would be a no.
Okay, so a stationary vehicle is treated like an inanimate object.
No, I just we would not do a collision with a rolling down the hill person into a stationary vehicle.
Cool.
This is
Jennifer Homendy,
service journalism that this show is here for.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Next time you roll down a hill for leisure,
I'm gonna think
rest
of you.
assured.
Yeah,
we've
got
there.
The chair of the NTSB herself.
Yeah. So great. Oh no.
Oh no,
she's back. There you are.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, next scenario.
Alan Pan, great engineer YouTuber, created a device that gave legs to snakes. So a snake would climb into this device and it would give the snake legs and the snake can move. Now this is a vehicle. Would this, if it was involved in an accident, would this be covered by the NTSB?
This would not be covered. This is a not TSB scenario.
But it's a vehicle.
There's your answer, Moody.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
You can think about it if you want, but there you have it.
All right.
Straight.
Next.
I mean,
pneumatic tubes a la Futurama with people traveling around from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
If these were invented, would the NTSB investigate?
So this is definitely transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely we would.
Yep.
I mean, you have to eliminate the possibility that there's a problem with this shared infrastructure, right? Because like if you presumably there are hundreds, thousands, millions of people going through these tubes. If there's a crash, maybe it involves the infrastructure itself, in which case you're exposing millions of people, right? I mean, is that?
I mean, regardless, I'd want to check this out anyways. But yes, I mean, I hope there's some safety regulation, or they just shove people through the tube. Like, is there spacing? I mean, but no.
So many questions.
I do have so many. Is the coyote in there? I have questions. But yes, this is a yes.
Yeah, this is a 2 NTSB.
We're learning so much about the NTSB today. I love it.
Great.
All right, next scenario.
Are you familiar with the Valve game Portal? You have a portal gun in front of you. You can fire a blue and an orange portal, and these get connected in real life. So stepping through the blue portal, you get connected. You pop out at the orange portal on the other side. So you're traveling over distances through time, like through space.
It's essentially teleportation. It's portal. So Moody, what's the crash scenario here? Like you enter the portal, you come out the other end, and there's like a person there, and you crash into the person.
Yeah, like someone very irresponsibly puts the other side of the portal on the side of, say, of a freeway, and as you step out, you step out into the freeway is now like through a door in your house, like through a portal in your house, like. Would that be covered by the NTSB if that accident happened?
So the freeway, it is on the, or it's not on the freeway, or
so
it's at the house?
Blue portal,
Okay.
inside the house, orange portal on the side of the freeway. Both are connected in time and space. So it's like going through a door from one to the other, but it's like just open
and you
space.
end up on the. In this scenario, someone ended up on the freeway and got splattered by the car that immediately ran them over as soon as they dropped out of the portal into the freeway.
I mean, I think we'd want to take a look at that one.
Okay.
So
especially, I mean, this is, Moody, correct me, in this scenario, this is not like a licensed technology. This is just innovation.
It's innovation.
There
are, I mean, I've thought about this a lot. There's some, there are definitely there are some safety considerations. Like, where does the other portal end up? Like, also, the edge of the portal, if this is going to be infinitely small, that's like a razor blade. Like, you can really hurt yourself on the edge of that portal. And I think that there's a lot to think about there. But good to know. I'm just interested in the sort of teleportation side of things. So can we look at the other next slide, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Teleportation a la Star Trek would say... a teleportation incident, there's a malfunction. Scotty, even though he's in this picture, got things wrong on the control, and the people got messed up on the way. NTSB or not TSB?
So this is interesting because this would be in space. So this in space would not be NTSB.
Right.
So it's only space. If a spacecraft crashes into the Earth, then it's NTSB's business. But if it's not, if it's all just stays in space.
I mean, if people were moving in space, there'd probably have to be some sort of clarification of who deals with that. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be NASA and
or Starfleet in this case.
Space Force. And, there's going to be a whole
even if
group.
It's like in the vertical slice above.
I don't know.
The US?
There would really have to be clarification on that one. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I mean, I think just based on the last two, it feels like teleportation is a dangerous enough technology. It probably makes sense to have an agency just focused on teleportation. There's so many ways it can go wrong, right?
Well, that leads us into the next one, Ed.
What's that?
The next one, if we can go to that.
Yep.
And just to clarify, it's launch and re-entry. So if you're moving in space from one place to another, that's not gonna. What is that?
Okay. So this is from the movie The Prestige.
Oh.
So this is another form of teleportation. However, you're not really moving the person from place to place. But what this does, sorry for the spoiler, but it makes a clone of you in another place, but then you end up killing the original version of yourself. So
That's terrible.
So you have, from the outside, it's like the appearance of someone has moved from one place to another, but in reality, that's not the case. Like the plot of the movie is that this is kept secret from the government and everyone else. Everyone thinks that this man is teleporting, and it's not until a further investigation that you'll learn this.
Before you answer this question too, like in the very small amount of time that Moody and I have had to put this entire show together, we wasted an inordinate amount of time having philosophical debates about this exact scenario and whether a copy of yourself is really the same thing as yourself. So just wanted to get that out there.
I'm going to refer this to the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Okay. Great.
Wise choice. I think this is a can of worms.
This is
terrible.
Yeah, like there are a lot of questions just about the existence of a human soul that get raised by something like this. That like, I don't think you signed up for that level of, right? Like it's hard enough investigating crashes, but like questions about does a copy of yourself have your soul?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like also that it just causes death.
Well, yes, but it also brings life.
I feel like that should be recalled.
I feel like this is more mobility innovation than anyone should have to take.
No.
This is beyond the love it.
This is a no.
All right.
No.
Someone invents a way of moving that isn't a walk. You can't describe it as walking, but a walk is like, with our limited language, is the only way that we can do it. If someone is moving, a la walking, in an innovative way that's never been done before, and they get into an accident, would that be like, say they like run into a car and both end up injuring themselves? Like, is that NTSB? Is that covered by the NTSB?
You weren't going to cue the Walk This Way song during this?
No, because
Come
literally
on.
calling it a walk is doing a disservice to this innovation, Jennifer. Like, this is like beyond, like walking is...
We're beyond walking here.
Yeah, this is it's not 2022. This is like the future where we've moved beyond just walking.
It's a post-walking paradigm.
Yeah, post-walk paradigm.
Yeah, I don't, that looks painful. But I'm going to say no on this one. Nope. Not TSB.
All right.
Not TSB. All right. That was a clear answer. Oh my God, Moody.
Oh.
Okay, I swear we're almost at the end here.
People spontaneously evolve wheels instead of feet overnight. So now people are vehicles. How many people need to go through this before it becomes something that the NTSB investigates?
Well, just my question on there's no other vehicle involved here with this
Well, the
this
person
accident.
is would you consider the person a vehicle now, since he's on wheels?
I would not. Nope.
No?
No.
Even if there's like a bunch of these people and now this is like a form of like rolling to places.
No, this is a form of mobility.
I mean, it's roller skates, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just more tightly integrated roller skates.
Okay. All right. So not TSB. Great.
Yeah.
No.
I love the bold leadership. She knows, like, she doesn't even have to think too hard about it. She sees a scenario and she knows this is why.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Okay, so are you aware of the the sort of myth that the world is on the back of a giant turtle? That this appears like in quite a few indigenous places, but also like Stephen King and like some like who was the other
Native
one?
American cosmology.
There's a bunch of places that say that the world rests on the back of a turtle. Now, if this turtle ran into something, would the NTSB investigate?
Well,
This is a follow-up. That's a follow-up question, Ed.
You know, I'm gonna say no on the turtle.
No?
Nope.
All
nope,
right.
no on the turtle.
I had the next slide.
I do want to though.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to say though, the individual with the wheels.
Yes.
I do think that he would qualify as a vulnerable road user, and we would want to advocate on his behalf to make sure he's safe in traffic.
Okay. That's
but
great
no,
to know.
not the turtle. Move on from the turtle.
Yeah, the follow-up that I was going to ask was like, if you said yes to the turtle, there's like a further theory that like it's turtles all the way down. Like, what is the turtle resting on? And I was going to ask which turtle that your jurisdiction stops at, or if we take like a vertical slice of the turtle. But nope, it's not relevant anymore. No, that's it. That's literally
we've
everything I was
the
curious
cosmological
about.
Depths of the NTSB's jurisdiction here.
Thank you, Jennifer, so much.
An amazingly good sport.
This has been.
Can we bring
really
back
good.
Scooter?
I will say I've already gotten a direct message on Twitter from someone saying that they never want to hear from Scooter ever again. So it looks like the jury's out on Scooter. We got 1 vote for and 1 vote against.
Oh boy.
So we do have one final question that is like halfway serious. And again, you've been an amazingly good sport. This has been so much fun. But we have to ask, what can people listening to this show, what can normal people do to kind of help in any way, like the work that NTSB does to like keep up with all of the innovation that's out there and make sure that what's happening is stuff that really serves, you know, the safety and the interests of the public?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. And, you know, we have our safety recommendations that are online, and certainly looking at our website at ntsb.gov and following us on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, because we tweet a lot. We have the NTSB account, and then we have the NTSB newsroom account, which really focuses on the specific crashes that we are investigating. But on the NTSB account, we are really focused on advocacy and our work on transportation safety. So we really talk about our recommendations a lot there. And then on our website, we have our safety recommendations, which people can help implement and push to get those implemented. In addition, I think, you know, it's always good to hear when there is a crash, especially we get notification in all the other modes, but people may not know that we have a response operations center. And when it comes to a roadway crash, there are no reporting requirements. So we will usually hear from police where we have relationships, or sometimes the DOT, or sometimes from the news where we have people monitoring 24/7. But also sometimes somebody from the public will call and say, hey, this is a huge thing that we want you to look, you know, that we just want you to know about in case you weren't aware that this happened. And so that's also always helpful.
And where can they find the sort of tip line or the contact information? Is that on the website?
Yeah, it's right on our website at ntsb.gov, and it's our response operation center who takes information 24/7 when there is a you know, an accident or a crash. A notification goes out to all of us, so we know what is happening.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm so glad we've been able to give people something useful out of this show other than shovels.
I think editing a lot of my slides was as ambitious as like.
I will say the public has been really helpful to us. After major accidents, we ask for video or pictures and they send them in. They've been a tremendous help in the past.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, listen, yeah, no, and I think anybody who's watching this show now, sees what you're willing to go through for the cause of traffic safety, and no one can question your dedication now. So please, folks, if you're out there listening or watching, please help this poor lady out so she doesn't have to go through this anymore.
I'm just really glad that we finally got the chair of the NTSB to give the NTSB's official position on teleportation. Like, this was, I think, momentous.
And cosmic turtle crashes. I mean, the agency had not been on the record yet, and this is the important journalism that this show is here to do.
Glad I could help.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking the time and for putting up with all our goofiness, and honestly for coming on a show that no one had any idea of what to expect from, like, least of all me and Moody. So thank you for taking this risk with us. This was so much fun. I knew we would have a great time doing this together, and I was right for once. And so thank you so much.
You're welcome. See you later.
And thank you so much to our audience for tuning in. Like I said, we had no idea what this was all gonna even be like. A week ago, this was sort of a vague idea. I don't know. I've had fun. Like, I think I need to maybe watch this. Moody, what do you think? Have you had fun?
I've had a lot of fun. Like, this is gonna be still on the channel, so if you want to share it, that's great. All our socials are in the description below. Jennifer's is in there as well, so she's a great follow on Twitter as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this show goes next, because I'm not quite sure what happens next week.
No one knows. So you got to tune in and find out. It's the only way you're going to know.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Not Sure How Much More Mobility Innovation I Can Take. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you next week. Maybe by then these boys will have figured out a shorter title for the show. Links to everyone's socials in the description below. Bye bye from Scooter.